May this sacred water bring you comfort.
Oh, the pain! The pain! Make it stop!
This ancient remedy will soothe your suffering, child.
Spiritus Sanctus, relieve this poor soul.
Imagine living in a world where a simple toothache could turn into a nightmare. No dentists, no painkillers, and no modern medicine. Just you, your aching tooth, and the desperate hope that someone in your village knows a way to help. In the Middle Ages, dental pain was more than just an inconvenience. It was a source of fear, suffering, and sometimes even death. People didn't understand bacteria or infection. They believed that toothaches were caused by evil spirits, curses, or even tiny worms living inside the tooth. The pain could be so intense that it drove people to try anything, no matter how strange or dangerous, to find relief. Today, we are going to uncover 7 of the weirdest and most shocking ways people in the Middle Ages tried to cure a toothache. Some of these methods might make you cringe. Others might make you grateful for your next trip to the dentist. But all of them are real, documented in historical records, and show just how far people would go to escape the agony of a bad tooth. Let us step back in time and see what life was really like for someone with a toothache in the medieval world. Before we dive into the bizarre remedies, let's take a closer look at daily life in a medieval village. Imagine waking up in a small, dark house made of stone and wood. The air is cold and damp. There's no electricity, no running water, and no toothbrush waiting for you in the bathroom. You share your home with your family, maybe even some animals. The smell of smoke from last night's fire still lingers in the air. Breakfast is simple, maybe a piece of bread, some cheese, or a bowl of porridge. You have to work hard just to survive. Most people are farmers, blacksmiths, or craftsmen. Every day is a struggle to put food on the table and keep your family safe. Hygiene is basic at best. Baths are rare, and people don't really understand the importance of keeping their teeth clean. Toothbrushes and toothpaste haven't been invented yet. If you're lucky, you might have a rag or a stick to rub your teeth with. But most people just use their fingers, or nothing at all. As a result, dental problems are common. Cavities, infections, and abscesses can strike anyone, young or old. When the pain starts, there's no easy solution. You can't just call a dentist or buy some painkillers at the pharmacy. Instead, you have to rely on the knowledge and traditions passed down through generations. Some of these remedies are based on herbs and natural medicine. Others are rooted in superstition, religion, or pure desperation. But one thing is certain, a toothache in the Middle Ages was a serious problem. It could keep you from working, eating, or even sleeping. And if the infection spread, it could become life-threatening. This is the world where our story begins. A world where every day is a battle against pain, and where people will try anything no matter how strange to find relief. Are you ready to discover the first bizarre way medieval people tried to cure a toothache? Let's begin. Point 1. A depiction of daily life in a medieval village. Let's take a closer look at daily life in a medieval village. Imagine waking up in a small, dark house made of stone and wood. The air is cold and damp. There's no electricity, no running water, and definitely no toothbrush waiting for you in the bathroom. You share your home with your family, and sometimes even with animals. The smell of smoke from last night's fire still lingers in the air. Breakfast is simple, maybe just a piece of bread, some cheese, or a bowl of porridge. You have to work hard just to survive. Most people are farmers, blacksmiths, or craftsmen. Every day is a struggle to put food on the table and keep your family safe. Hygiene is basic at best. Baths are rare, and people don't really understand the importance of keeping their teeth clean. Toothbrushes and toothpaste haven't been invented yet. If you're lucky, you might have a rag or a stick to rub your teeth with. But most people just use their fingers, or nothing at all. As a result, dental problems are common. Cavities, infections, and abscesses can strike anyone, young or old. When the pain starts, there's no easy solution. You can't just call a dentist or buy some painkillers at the pharmacy. Instead, you have to rely on the knowledge and traditions passed down through generations. Some of these remedies are based on herbs and natural medicine. Others are rooted in superstition, religion, or pure desperation. But one thing is certain. A toothache in the Middle Ages was a serious problem. It could keep you from working, eating, or even sleeping. And if the infection spread, it could become life-threatening. This is the world where our story begins. A world where every day is a battle against pain, and where people will try anything no matter how strange to find relief. Fact 1. Using live frogs. Now, let's talk about the first strange remedy. using a live frog to cure a toothache. It might sound unbelievable, but in some parts of medieval Europe, people truly believed in the healing power of frogs. If you had a terrible toothache, someone might tell you to catch a live frog from a nearby pond or river. The next step was to hold the frog against your cheek, right where the pain was the worst. People thought that the frog would somehow draw out the pain from your tooth and absorb it into its own body. Some even believed that if the frog croaked or moved while pressed against your face, it meant the pain was leaving your body. This method was based on superstition, not science. But in a time when there were no real cures, people were willing to try anything. Historical records and old medical texts mention this practice, showing just how desperate people were to find relief. There are even stories of people tying the frog to their face and walking around with it for hours. Of course, there was no real evidence that this worked. But for people in the Middle Ages, hope was sometimes the only medicine they had. The idea of using a frog might seem strange or even funny to us today. But for someone suffering from a toothache hundreds of years ago, it was a serious attempt to escape the pain. This is just one example of how far people would go to find comfort in a world without modern medicine. Fact 2. Prayer and religious rituals. The second strange way people in the Middle Ages tried to cure a toothache was through prayer and religious rituals. Religion played a huge role in everyday life during medieval times. When someone suffered from a toothache, it was common to believe that the pain was a punishment from God or the work of evil spirits. People would often visit the local church or monastery, hoping for a miracle. Monks and priests were seen as healers, not just for the soul, but also for the body. They would recite special prayers or chants, asking for divine intervention to remove the pain. Sometimes, they would use holy water to bless the person or sprinkle it on the aching area. In some cases, relics of saints were placed near the patient's mouth, with the belief that the saint's power could heal the pain. There were even specific saints, like Saint Apollonia, who became the patron saint of dentistry and toothaches. People would light candles and pray to her, asking for relief from their suffering. These rituals were often performed in a solemn and hopeful atmosphere. For many, faith was the only comfort they had, even though these methods didn't cure the infection or fix the tooth. The power of belief and community support sometimes helped people cope with the pain. In a world without modern medicine, turning to religion was a natural response to suffering. It shows how deeply people relied on faith to get through the hardest moments of their lives. Fact 3. Tooth extraction by blacksmith. The third bizarre way people in the Middle Ages dealt with toothaches was by having their teeth pulled out by a blacksmith or barber. Back then, there were no professional dentists like we have today. If your toothache became unbearable, you had to find someone in your village who was brave enough to help. Often, that person was the local blacksmith or barber. These men were known for their strength and their ability to handle tough jobs. They already had the tools like pliers, tongs, and metal hooks that could be used to pull out a tooth. The process was quick, but it was also extremely painful and dangerous. There was no anesthesia, no numbing gel, and no sterile environment. You simply had to grit your teeth, hold on tight, and hope for the best. Sometimes, the blacksmith would heat his tools in the fire to try to kill germs, but this was not always effective. Infections were common, and many people suffered from complications after the procedure. Despite the risks, people were often so desperate to end their pain that they were willing to take the chance. Historical records show that tooth extraction was a common practice, and it was often done in public, with crowds gathering to watch. It was a brutal solution, but for many, it was the only option. This method reminds us just how far people would go to escape the agony of a toothache in a world without modern medicine. Fact 4. Herbal remedies and traditional medicines. The fourth unusual way people in the Middle Ages tried to cure a toothache was by using herbal remedies and traditional medicines. Long before modern pharmaceuticals, people relied on the natural world for healing. If you had a toothache, someone in your village might prepare a special mixture made from herbs, roots, or common ingredients included sage, garlic, onions, cloves, and vinegar. These plants were believed to have natural pain-relieving or antibacterial properties. A popular remedy was to crush garlic or onions and apply the paste directly to the sore tooth or gum. Some people would chew on sage leaves or cloves, hoping the oils would numb the pain. Others made mouth rinses from vinegar or salt water to clean the mouth and reduce swelling. Healers and wise women often had their own secret recipes, passed down through generations. Sometimes, these remedies provided real relief, especially if the herbs had mild numbing or anti-inflammatory effects. But other times, the pain would persist, and people would have to try something else. Despite the lack of scientific understanding, these herbal treatments were an important part of medieval medicine. They show how people used the resources around them and their knowledge of nature to fight pain and illness. Even today, some of these ingredients are still used in home remedies for toothaches. It's a reminder that, even in the darkest times, people never stopped searching for ways to heal themselves. Fact 5. Burning or touching teeth with hot metal. The fifth, and perhaps most extreme method people used in the Middle Ages to deal with toothaches was burning or cauterizing the tooth with hot metal. When herbal remedies and prayers failed, some believed that only fire could stop the pain. A blacksmith or healer would heat a metal rod or tool until it was red hot. Then, they would press the hot metal directly against the aching tooth or gum. The idea was to kill the evil inside the tooth by burning it away. This process was incredibly painful and dangerous. There was no anesthesia, so the patient had to endure the full agony of the procedure. Sometimes, the heat would destroy the nerve, and the pain would stop at least for a while. But more often, it caused severe burns, infections, and even more suffering. Historical records describe people screaming in pain during this brutal treatment. Yet, in a world without antibiotics or real dental care, some saw it as their only hope. This method shows just how desperate people were to escape the torture of a toothache. It's a reminder of how far medicine has come, and how much people once suffered for relief. Fact 6. Chewing certain roots or spices. Another unusual way people in the Middle Ages tried to relieve toothache was by chewing on certain roots or when pain struck, some villagers would search for plants believed to have healing powers. Common choices included the roots of herbs, like valerian, marshmallow, or even licorice. People also chewed on spices such as cloves or cinnamon sticks. The idea was that the natural oils and compounds in these plants could numb the pain or reduce inflammation. Sometimes, the act of chewing itself helped distract from the discomfort. Healers and wise women often recommended specific roots based on local traditions and experience. Some of these plants did have mild pain-relieving or antibacterial effects, which could offer temporary relief. However, the results were unpredictable, and the pain often returned once the chewing stopped. Despite this, people kept searching for the right route or spice, hoping for a miracle cure. This method shows how people used the resources around them and their knowledge of nature to fight pain. It's a testament to human creativity and determination in the face of suffering. Even today, some of these natural remedies are still used in traditional medicine around the world. Fact 7. Using charms and spells. The seventh and final strange way people in the Middle Ages tried to cure a toothache was by using spells and magical incantations. Superstition was a big part of daily life, especially when it came to health and healing. When someone had a stubborn toothache, they might visit a local wise woman, healer, or even a traveling magician. These healers would recite special words, chants, or prayers believed to have magical power. Sometimes, they would write the words on a piece of parchment and tie it around the patient's neck or arm. Other times, the person with the toothache would be told to repeat the incantation themselves, hoping the magic would drive away the pain. Some spells were passed down through generations, while others were found in old books or learned from traveling healers. People believed that these rituals could banish evil spirits or curses that were causing the pain. There was no scientific basis for these methods, but in a world full of mystery and fear, people were willing to try anything. The power of belief and the hope for relief made these magical practices a common part of medieval medicine. Even though we know today that spells can't cure a toothache, these stories remind us how important hope and faith were in times of suffering. It's a fascinating glimpse into the mindset of people who lived centuries ago, always searching for a way to ease their pain. Closing. Looking back at these 7 strange and sometimes shocking remedies, it's clear that life in the Middle Ages was full of challenges. A simple toothache could turn into a nightmare, and people had to rely on whatever knowledge, beliefs, or resources they had. From frogs and prayers to hot metal and magical spells, every method tells a story of desperation and hope. These remedies might seem bizarre or even frightening to us today, but for people back then, they were a matter of survival. It's easy to take modern dentistry for granted, but just a few centuries ago, people faced pain and danger with every toothache. Their creativity, courage, and determination helped them endure even the worst suffering. Today, we can be grateful for the advances in medicine and the comfort of knowing that help is just a phone call away. The next time you visit the dentist, remember the strange and sometimes painful history behind the care we have now. It is a powerful reminder of how far we've come in, how much people have always been willing to do to find relief from pain.